Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Sales Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Daniel McComber, and with me today we got Naaman Taylor and Jay Miller. These guys are down here in DFW. They are with Miller Storm Roofing. They've built an 8-figure roofing business down here, and honestly, they're just doing it the right way. I met these guys at the gym. I'm super excited for you to hear this episode. DNA, you are from a different bloodline, a bloodline of grace. Otherwise, you'll be the first to raise your family name. All right, guys, we made it from the gym at Lifetime to the podcast studio down here in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Dude, I love this spot, too, because it's right over by the river right there.
Yeah.
So that's where I do all my training on the Trinity.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It's like all my running and biking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't swim in there, but...
There's probably a few dead bodies in there.
Yeah, that river is nasty. About as nasty, just as any you can get. But, guys, I'm super stoked. I mean, when I found out you guys, run a roofing company out here, I just was like... I had to question if you guys are good guys or not. I'm like, roofers, they're either great guys or, there's a lot of stigmas around roofers.
Yeah.
Or not good guys.
You guys aren't the good guys, right?
Yeah.
No, so I'm just excited to have you on and chat more about, the industry and how you guys have, grown something sustainable in a crazy market like this.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy market, DFW. They say it's like the Manhattan of hailstorms. They say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, right? No, there's a lot of chaos in our industry. There's a lot of good guys. There's a lot of bad guys. I think, bad news travels faster than good news.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That one bad thing somebody does. I mean, although there's some bad practices in roofing, the people who waive deductibles, right? Or, reusing underlayment, reusing flashings and cutting corners and things like that. I definitely believe there should be more regulation in Texas. I'm all for licensing requirements regulated by the government because it is the wild, wild west out here. The most that you can have is that RCAT license. But other than that,
So to anyone that's not in roofing, is it true that you could literally just, throw some shingles in a truck that you pick up from Home Depot and just kind of show up and throw a roof up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's what I hear. It's like, what is it, like Joe in a truck or something like that?
Chuck in a truck.
Chuck in a truck.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. You could pick up a bunch of laborers from Home Depot with the material.
Have you ever seen Fun with Dick and Jane?
Oh God, I'm
dude, Fun with Dick, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, when they drive around that little red car.
Yeah, the little red car. But he's at Home Depot and he's chasing him down. And he doesn't speak English. Yeah, I knew it. Well, I'm curious. So you two, what I like about you guys is you kind of like the power dynamic, man. I mean, you guys are. It's pretty hard to find, a CEO, a founder, and then someone to come in and manage the way that you do, and just have that really good partnership. Well, how did you guys meet?
Same place we met you.
Yeah.
At the gym?
Yeah. At the gym, baby.
There
Come
you go.
on.
Come on. The quality guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. We even our recruiting tactic now is to recruit out of the gym, right? So it's the gym's a place. If you join a quality gym, you'll meet quality people that are on your same frequency of health and wealth. So
that's true.
Talk to the people at the gym. You might find your next partner, your next other kind of partner. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's all kind of cool people at the gym, man. So yeah, we met at the gym just in a weird scenario. You want to share kind of the story of how it all
you need a
went
spot
down?
Or something or what?
No.
That would have been a cool story too, though.
So I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? And so I listen to a lot of Brad Lee. The Brad Lee podcast,
yeah, he's a stud.
Well, I hear him on the podcast. He was on the Brad Lee podcast.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I did it about 2 years ago.
Oh, sick.
And I hear he's in Fort Worth. Right. And I'm like, because we were, as you make money in business and roofing, right, you're trying to figure out other passive ways and where you can put the money, tax, write-offs, things like that.
Of course.
So, right. Yeah. It's once you get to a certain level, it's how you move your money now. Right.
Yeah.
It's getting away from Uncle Sam. So anyway, I'm listening all about real estate. It's intriguing me. Right. I had some rentals, things like that. He was big in the wholesale real estate world.
That's right. I did know that.
Yeah. And so I'm listening, whatever. Anyway, one day I'm at the gym I was telling my wife about it because I was like, he's in Fort Worth because my initial real estate coach that I was working with was out of Louisiana.
Oh.
So it was kind of like a long distance relationship.
It's tough too.
So that was like the initial interest. Well, Taylor, my wife, is like, hey, that dude that was on Brad Lee is at the gym. And right now I'm looking at his Instagram. He's at the Fort Worth Lifetime. What? And I'm like, really? So then I'm like trying not to be a weirdo, you know, I'm like scanning the area, you know, I see him and his wife, they're working out, and I was like, hey, I heard y'all on the podcast. Like, I just want to introduce myself, this, that, and the third. We go out on a date. My wife, me, him, and his wife, we go out. And it's one of those weird things, like, my wife and his wife hit it off, and then like me and him like vibed, and we were like, cool, because usually
like never happened.
No,
that never
very rare. Like, all four? Like, no way.
like usually I gotta fake like the dude.
Yeah, it's like, oh
so,
shoot!
you
Like
know.
the women are just having tons of fun, and I'm like, so
What's up, bro?
what's up, bro?
Or your wife hates the other dude's
Yeah,
wife.
and it's like, oh
Yeah.
man, now we can't hang out with them anymore.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So that's how we met.
Okay.
And you know, he was big in real estate, and so I was just doing my roofing thing, and I guess I'll let you finish off.
Yeah,
that
and
part
we
where-
were friends for probably about a year.
Well, real quick, I want to add to that too.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I love about that is that you put effort into it. You know, I mean, sometimes great partnerships just like fall in your lap.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Usually, it takes a little bit of effort from one part or the other, right? I mean, you put yourself out there. I mean, we could talk about the Bradley podcast, but you were on the podcast, and then you made the effort to like show up, introduce yourself. I think. Actually, I know way too many people nowadays just think that these connections are going to fall in their lap, or they don't need to put any effort in, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to run into a millionaire, or I'm going to meet my next business partner or my next life partner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, I guess people, there's no dating app equivalent for networking where you can swipe left and right.
Yeah.
So people don't realize that it's not that easy as just jumping on an app.
What's that thing you say?
Which one?
You could either network.
You can network or not work.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. You can network or not work.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you guys put in the effort, and you meet, and so you're friends for a couple of years, you
Yeah,
said?
like
or?
a little
Like a
over
good
a
year.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, okay, nice.
Zero into like very little interest in each other's industry. Just
Oh, okay.
more like hang out. Our kids are about the same age.
Oh, that's
Like-
Our daughters are the
Yeah.
same age.
Oh,
literally
how old are they?
Like a month apart.
yeah, they're a
each.
month apart. They're
Yeah.
the same, yeah,
Like 2 and 3 basically.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So the
awesome.
girls are the same age, so we would just connect, hang out with the kids, have a good time. Like
Yeah.
never even really talk too much about work.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would come over to his house. The whole Miller Storm would be there at like a pool party. I'd meet these guys. I'd like talk shit with them in the hot tub. You know what I mean? Like I'd tell them how I close people and like how I would do it if I was in there. Like just having fun. Never even crossed my mind to like we were just being friends. And Jay is funny as hell. He tells me one day, he's like, I did ask you to get in roofing at one point. I'm like, when? He was like, well, one time I said, bro, you should think about getting into roofing.
Oh, yeah.
And I go,
Effort.
yeah, and I go, I'm good, bro. I'm like doing my whole thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm good,
I'm good,
right?
dude.
And so he tells me that like 6 months later, like I asked you one other time. I was like, when? I was like, that was your ask to
Yeah, nice,
like
dude.
work with you. So it was
you
pretty
should.
funny, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the second time the time he actually asked me, the second time,
Yeah.
I was just coming back from my mastermind, and I had done basically everything that my real estate coaches had put on my plate.
Oh,
I was working maybe 4 to 6 hours a week in my business, and the rest of it I was doing like coaching.
Oh, okay.
But my wholesale business, we were having a lot of success. We were on track to do some really good numbers, and some of my mentors were like, "So what?" They were like, so what? You're gonna make a couple $100,000. Like,
Yeah, that's
what?
true.
You're better than that." And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, like, this is what you have been telling me to do for the last like 4 years, and I've been working my ass off to get here, right? And now I'm here, and you're like, "So what?" And so I left that mastermind just like, damn, what am I supposed to do next? Because my last couple times I went there, I was having like conflicting ideas of what I wanted to do still.
Okay.
And then Jay's like, hey, I don't even remember exactly how it all went down. He's like, basically, he asked me, he said again, like, you should get in the roofing. And I was like, his second pitch. Second terrible pitch.
But it was the good, yeah, this time it was good times.
But my mindset,
yeah,
I heard him. I heard him the second
Yeah,
time. I didn't even hear him the first time. I was like, bro, what the fuck do I know about roofing?
yeah,
You know
that
what I mean?
makes sense.
I
yeah.
heard him the second time, and I just basically said, well, what does that even look like?
Yeah.
And really, I was curious about the revenue numbers because I knew nothing. I didn't even know any roofers but Jay.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
only roofer I knew
Yeah.
was
Isn't that
Jay.
weird?
Well, dude, the only like
In DFW, the only roofer he knows is me. I'm
yeah, like there's
really?
literally a billion. But I mean, the funny thing is like there's not too many roofers that look like Jay. Let's just put it that way. That are like in the places where
I
we're
tell the
at,
guys
you
that
know?
work with us, though, because I think there's a ton of roofers. And I said, how many roofers did you know before you started working here? I purposely stay a little bit out of the weeds of the business so I can keep that lens for people. Because he said the other day, he's like overcomplicated sometimes because I know so much. And I try not to learn too much and get in the weeds of it because I have a different lens. I'm like, you didn't even know a roofer until you started working here, but you think there's so many roofers now.
Right. Yeah,
I said,
that's
I
true.
didn't know any roofers until I met Jay. I would have Googled need a roof.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't
gotta
have
leave.
known.
Who do I call? Yeah.
Exactly. So I asked him, so what does that look like? And he says, well, we did 6.2 last year. And I'm like, so in the wholesale space, like 2 to 3 million's like,
Oh yeah.
you're that guy.
That's good.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like you're doing well, right? And so he says 6.2. And I was like, what? I'm like, so I'm thinking like, I don't know any other businesses. I went
Yeah.
balls to the walls in real estate. So
okay.
all these other businesses, I don't even, I stay in my lane, dog.
Yeah, like the
even to this
revenue
day, I'm
aspect
like,
of it, you're like, you don't
Yeah.
really. It's kind of hard to understand how much like a business can make and or what they're bringing in, and
Yep.
if you're not familiar with it at all.
and so I've been out of the Army for about 2 years now, and I'm like, okay, cool, 6.2. I was like, how'd you do that? Because now I'm just like, all right, how'd you do the numbers? And he said, door knocking. And I come from virtual wholesale real estate.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like Earth and Mars. I was like, knocking on doors?
yeah,
He's-
behind a screen to like on the streets,
Bro.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like mind blown.
Yeah.
He's looking at me like, you did that. All you did was knock doors. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like 96% of it.
96%. Yeah, 4% online
goes,
marketing, whatever. Yeah.
You didn't call anyone? And I was like, call them? He's like, I was like, how would I call them? He's
Yeah.
like, you didn't think to like call them on the phone and set all this up without door knocking? And I was like, oh, bro, this is DFW. It's the most competitive area in the country. There's no way you could just call somebody.
Yeah.
He goes, well, like, let's just pull a list. And I was like, all right. And then he like calls somebody in my living room. He's like, I'll just call somebody really quick. Like, let's just see.
You
how
just
it
pull the
goes.
list right there on the spot.
Yeah, Helltrace.
He tells me to
Pull
just
the
go
area.
like pick somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, let me just pull the hail date. I was like, all right, this is like a 3-inch hail area. I was like, we'll just pick this guy. Go ahead, call him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, he always challenges me because like I'm very
Okay.
like, because I've been in this so long, I can get sometimes just tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
Where I just only see it my way because it's only worked that way and my
Yeah.
belief system's built right. So he's like, he calls, boom. Sets up the inspection on the phone. The first call, he knows nothing about roofing. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, wait a second.
I was like, dude, you can do that? He goes, oh, bro, this is what I do. I get people to sell me their house over the phone.
phone.
He goes,
Yeah.
I get people to sell me their house over the phone. You think I can't get somebody to get a free roof inspection over the phone? He goes,
Yeah.
that's not even a sell. And I'm like, and I was like, okay, like we need to, if we can blow this up, if you could do that, I was like, and so that's
So you
really
kind of like took his offer and then almost immediately just like said, hey, we could do something else.
Yeah. So
Something
we
better.
didn't like get into the weeds of like what it looked like to like bring me in as like whatever executive level. I was just like, let's just explore
Sure.
what this is, because I still had my whole business. He still had
Yeah.
his thing. And I'm like, let's just kind of work. So for the next like 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
I think we just kind of like fucked around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just like see what we can do here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's cool.
I'll take my skill set with your expertise and see what can happen.
Mm.
And like, if you want, we can get in the weeds of that, or I can just kind of give you a macro. Like, since basically April 15th to today is December 6th, we've set about 1,000 appointments over the phone.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's when you started, is in back just in
Yep.
April.
Yep,
That's
in April.
crazy.
Yeah, I was like kind of doing maybe 10 hours a week or something like that
Yeah.
with Miller
Yeah.
Storm, just because maybe 10 to 20 hours a week, just kind of like doing some stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
still,
we're trying to still feel each other out,
Right, because
We're
you're like, hey, we're homies, but like, are you actually gonna like?
it's a big
Just
deal.
Put up,
talk is
like-
cheap. Yeah,
Yeah, it
you're
is.
like, all right, cool. You're like, like blah blah blah, and then like,
What if he
started-
got lucky?
yeah, it started working,
Yeah,
and then
you're like,
Yeah.
and then he started seeing it, and I started seeing it. I was like, dude, we just need to go all in,
Yeah.
bro. I was like, dude,
So what, like when you guys kind of decided like, hey, this could be a partnership, how did that conversation go?
same place where I set the lead at his house.
Oh,
We do everything at the house.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
like I mean, obviously like movies, it's like, okay, cool, like discussion time, negotiation time, right?
Yeah.
Or you guys just like, hey man, let's just figure this out.
I think it was really easy. It was like a 5-minute conversation. I was like, boom, boom, here's this. It was like, I mean, and he was like, cool, let's rock.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like,
That's
you know,
awesome.
and so,
You guys had that trust beforehand, right?
Yeah, because we had
so
known each
many-
other for a little while. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So there was already trust there, and then there was results there. We were kind of chatting about this yesterday. I was like, everybody's not going to do what I did and build trust and show results before they ask for a check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's literally what I was
My
about to say,
joke
yeah.
with Jay was like my first 3 months
Yeah.
in Miller Storm, I made $20 because
Oh.
I was like, we were just trying to figure out like, you know, what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to like entice the sales team to set more leads. So he's like, the next person sets an appointment, $20. And I was like,
oh, that's when I pulled the cash out.
Oh,
And
and
it-
just gave him
and
$20.
so yeah, and so he pulled, and I just like, fuck, I'm gonna do it. I was like,
Yeah.
bam, and so I did it, and I was like, write me my bread. You know what I mean?
He came in the room and snatched the $20 bill.
$20
It was
out of
like-
it.
Yeah, I'm gonna frame that $20 whenever
Yeah,
we get
dude,
to our
first
office.
20.
Yeah,
That
we're
is
like
awesome.
remodeling an office right now. I'm gonna frame it, put it up like my first
Yeah.
$20 I made with Miller Storm. Yeah, it was a whole
First of
funny
many,
joke.
right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And so
That's so
like
cool.
basically Jay was like, hey, we need to go full time into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reflecting now, but basically what happened in a way is Jay just bought my wholesale business and brought it into Miller Storm.
Really? Okay.
Because 100% of the people that work for me went over to Miller Storm.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just
Man,
combined
it didn't feel like
forces.
that when it happened.
Yeah, but
But when I look back,
ultimately-
I'm like, Jay bought my business. Right? Like when you,
That
Yeah,
was
I
playing
really
all
think
along,
about it. Definitely
all
created
along that was
partnership.
the plan,
Yeah.
dude.
and so I haven't like publicly talked shit to the wholesale space, but I'm like, because you can't sell those companies, basically.
No, because it's all based on the effort
Yeah.
of your back, dude.
Correct.
If you
But
leave, it's gone.
in a way, I sold mine.
Yeah, anyway. You transacted without knowing it, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was all the all the people, all the processes,
Yeah.
and the skill set that we brought over.
Yeah, they're just just saying something different on the phone.
Yep.
That's all it was,
And
right?
we just plugged all of our people into Miller Storm, into what
Yeah.
their expertise were.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's different levels of training, right? You got to like right when you hire someone on, you got to train them like how to pick up the phone or how to knock on the door and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could take someone who's got phone experience or door experience, and then you can like make them better. And you can also change their industry and stuff. So like me being in solar, yeah, we recruit pest dudes all the time. And if I can get, unfortunately, just because you kill it in pest control does not mean that you're going to transition to be a great solar salesman
No.
or a roofer,
Right.
frankly.
Right.
And so sometimes like, dude, I sold 500 accounts last year in pest. I'm like, sweet. Let me and honestly, I
Yeah.
get a lot of backlash for this, but I'm like, let me teach you how to actually sell. Because right now you just know how to knock doors and
Correct.
fulfill orders. Like now, let me
Right.
teach you how to actually sell.
Yep.
Because I mean, roofing and solar, high ticket volume. It's like, dude, you can't. You're not just blowing smoke up their butt saying you're in the area per se.
Yeah.
I mean, that works 10% of the time. You got to actually sell these people.
Yeah.
So it is really interesting taking someone who's got experience and plugging them into like a new atmosphere, a new group, and a new industry. So it went pretty good. Well, you were the one who trained them, right?
Yeah, so I had trained all my phone sales guys
That's good.
from
That
like
makes
no
sense then.
experience to being just straight murderers on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing I was worried about was
Yeah.
if these guys are even going to make it at the door, because like Jay says, the hardest industry to be a part of is door knocking, right? And those guys are actually doing really well now. So
Oh, yeah?
like, they
So
all
some
they
of
all
them went
made
to the
it.
doors?
Yeah, they all made it. They all actually they're all door knockers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
I
they're
didn't
not
bring
calling?
them in to call. No, we haven't even
Oh.
gotten there yet because it's like what we know. We'll do what we know. What we know is door knocking makes money.
It works. Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, before we try to like make some unicorn situation,
Yeah.
we're getting there, right?
Oh,
We're gonna do
okay.
that,
Yeah.
right? But before we do that, learn this game. That's what I
Best
told
way
them.
to learn like is to plug into a company and just do what they're already doing
Yep.
that's working.
Yeah.
Learn the industry, learn everything, and then change it back to the phones.
But it's what I call skill
smart.
stacking. I'm like, so
Mm-hmm.
you're already a gangster on the phone. Now you're a gangster at the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, there isn't a place where you can't sell a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's wild.
That's what makes those guys the most dangerous.
Oh, 100%.
And so I'm like, they can call and follow up and hit them on the phone and then show up at their house. I'm like, you can't escape this kind of killer.
Yeah.
I'm like, pick your weapon of choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know, now that you say that, I was trying to think. I'm like, I think I recruited one dude that had phone experience, and he was a killer. Like when he came over to the doors, I was like, dang, dude, that went really well. I remember him telling me, oh yeah, like I've done like cold calling, and I was like, oh okay, well,
Great.
That's not as good as door to door. And then he came over and he killed it. So I do remember that. That's funny. Only
It's
one time.
that Jordan Belford where he says tonality is 80% of the sale, right? So if you're good at speaking and the phone game, because it's a lot of tonality, a change in tone, right? You're excited now. This is a serious time where you're going to be more monotone and speak more directly, right? Like there's differences in pitches and volumes, right? And that stuff directly correlates to what you do at the door, right? I tell my guys, it's like in the beginning, you're hi, you're like, hey, what's up? Like, you're just really energetic, and then when you're starting to talk about the damage at their house, it's like, okay, like no, like you see,
let's get serious.
This is pretty bad. You know what I mean? And then this look right here, and this isn't good. You know,
and
then it all
you bring it in, and then you end on the high note. You're like, hey, but I'm here to help you.
But here's the really cool thing about it, and then
I'm
you
your
just
friend.
And so if you already got that locked on phone sales, like, and you can correlate that to the doors. It's magic.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So you bring your whole organization in. You guys hit the ground running. I mean, up until then, you hadn't done door to door before.
We hit the ground crawling. Well, we didn't know anything about it still.
Oh yeah.
Right. I came in. We had some ways that from our industry that immediately plugged in and just added gasoline to what we were doing in Miller Storm. But then there's other things where we had to still learn.
Yeah.
So there was months
like how
of
to manage
just
an area,
collecting data, figure out what went right.
I say it's like, like if there's two divorced people and they have like 4 kids and someone else, and then they like blend that family into one house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what like everybody who was on my team, it was like, I feel like we moved in with another family. You
got blended family. How the hell do we like work with each other?
Yeah.
No,
his son don't like my daughter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
we're like fucking like, well, y'all are brothers and sisters now. Get along.
Yeah, get along.
Go in the other room and
Everybody
play.
like smelling each other's asshole. Like, who are these people? What are that?
What is going on?
Like,
Yeah.
but now we're like one big like happy family now. But
That's
I
good.
think that's just growing pains,
Yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
put things together like that. So.
Well, the business has grown. I mean, obviously a lot, right? For year over year or 2 years. Yeah.
We doubled this year. In revenue. So
That's
we'll
awesome.
we'll be close to. I think we'll be really, really close to 12. Like we're shooting for the 12. We might be like 100 to 800 grand off, but like we'll hit 12, and and then next year our goal is 20. So
nice.
Now that we have all the infrastructure, right? Because I mean, in the beginning, like it's really hard to run a business. When like it's so I was running this business with my wife, right?
Oh, you were?
Yeah. So me and my wife were the
Dude.
co-owners of the company, right?
That's
and so
crazy.
like that is it's a blessing and a curse. I say it's the best of times and worst of times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like you can get so caught up in just talking about business that you forget like about just the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Taylor my wife was really the person that was like, you need to talk to Naaman about being a partner with you. Cause like it was putting a lot of strain on me and my wife, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, his middle name's Taylor. So she, sometimes we call him Taylor too.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird for me. So I call him but like me and him getting into the weeds together, you know what I mean? And Taylor more handling back office operations and things like that for me and him to kind of like be the creators, the visionary. He brought a lot of ops to the table. I didn't even know what ops was. He was like, he's like, well, who's doing ops? I'm like, I thought it was like Call of Duty Black Ops. Like, that was the last thing I ever heard.
Hey, dude, I know that you're in the military and stuff, but we don't do that here. We don't do like low key ops.
Yeah, so he has all this military stuff that because for he did 13 years in the Army, and so
systems,
like he
processes,
so I'm just like this guy that's completely scattered. I'm a visionary. Like I'm just like, bleh, and he's like, all right, wait, let's go back. Let's organize all of your thoughts. All right, we need to go step 1. Okay, and then he's been able to like take everything that I've learned in the last 9 years of being in roofing and like format it. And then like he could also he's like, wait, stop right there. That's the sentence. Everybody hear this sentence.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And because I didn't really have a formula or like a step-by-step process.
Tell me, so I'm hearing everything you're saying. So tell me what I'm seeing a lot happening, and this has like been within the past 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Is that like big companies like Vivint, big door-to-door companies, they had all these processes in place, right? And guys like me and a lot of guys, we like grew up in that, and we had these systems, and we learned how to sell really, really well.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is, especially like this solar boom, is all these guys like leaving these companies and starting their own companies. And they could sell.
Yeah.
And they're dogs. They could freaking go out there and they could sell like crazy. And they can even train other guys to sell because they know how. But what they lack is the systems, because they left the big company, or they left wherever they came from that had them for them, had the systems. And then now they're like trying to just make it work on their own. And they're just like, they could put on 300 accounts a year. But as we all know, that doesn't mean shit if you can't keep them and you can't maintain them and you can't get good reviews from them. So I am seeing, the more guys I talk to in the recruiting space, the more I'm realizing that management is in a decline right now.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. The lack of management skills, the lack of operations, and the lack of like experienced owners that actually know how to run a company with operations is just, it's so bad right now. And so you needed him. I mean,
100%.
like that
100%.
is what took your business to the next level, but it also could have like saved your business.
Yeah.
Because if you just kept going out there and putting on account after account without anything, eventually it's like, it's a freaking snowball, man. It just gets bigger until it just collapses.
Yeah. I didn't know even what an org chart was. He wrote out a whole org chart. Like now we have like, it's like a fucking mall map. Like you can like, it's like you could say like, you are here. What happened? Yes, no, here, here. Like all of it's really organized. I told him, I'm like, I want to have it printed out and put on the wall so no one ever asks me. Like I'm like, what's your question? Put your finger on the problem.
There you
now.
go.
Yes, no, yes, no. Go ahead, follow the map, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so it's like
That makes
it's
sense.
really a relief to have things organized, because I mean, me and him were talking about this yesterday, as I'm like, really good sales guys are not organized. Like I hated fucking paperwork. I hated like where each document went and each file, you know, I'm just a really good talker. I'm like, when I'm selling, I'm like, is anyone writing this down? You know what I mean?
I'm going. I'm doing my job.
I'm like, I need a scribe. That's what I need.
100%,
Like, because when you're talking and writing, it's hard, right? Like when you're trying to keep a relationship, a conversation, the communication going, and then you're filling out a contract. It's like, it makes it weird. You know, I'm like, dude, I need someone to just fill out this stuff for me while I'm standing there.
Well, honestly, it's pretty impressive that you're able to get your organization to the point where it was. I'm guessing your wife was a huge reason for that. She was doing the operations before he came in, right?
Yep.
And so that's the key, man. If I could just give advice for any guys out there, like sales managers, regional managers, or actual like owners, executive levels, like, if you can sell, that's great. But if you do not have the processes in place, what are you doing?
Yep.
You're spinning your wheels at the end of the day.
Absolutely. 100%.
My advice to those guys is just go read the book Traction.
Traction?
Traction.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rocket
It
Fuel
really
too.
breaks it down to like show you the different departments that a business is supposed to have.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
just sales, you know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
And then back office. That's not what.
Yeah,
this
there's
whole
a couple
thing is.
more that's in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. So just go read Traction. Start your journey there, because I know a lot of people are like, okay, great, thanks for telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. Right, but like, go read that book, and then that's where you start.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
where
to
you
kind of
start.
give these guys a little bit of framework here. So, which branch of the military were you in?
Army.
Army. Okay. So I think it's the Marines that eat the crayons, right? Or is that the?
It's the Marines,
Okay,
yeah.
that's the Marines. What's the joke for the Army guys? I can't remember.
There is no joke.
There's no joke.
No joke.
Oh, you just
No joke.
We'll figure it out later.
Do your own research.
I got an Army guy that he's one of the contractors that we use, and whenever like he shows up and it's my customer's a military guy, you guys just start throwing jabs at each other in a language that I don't understand. It's pretty crazy.
We really do speak a whole nother language.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's awesome that way though.
yeah,
It's good.
I even have like a lot of our team saying "Roger that" all the time, because I always just say "Roger that, Roger that." That's
Yeah.
that's like me acknowledging your whatever it is that you say, Roger that. Like I just always sent so many of those texts.
Yeah.
That never left me.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the one. What was he? Marines. The one Marine dude I had always Roger that. Roger.
yep, Roger that, Roger that. This is ingrained in us.
Yeah,
10-4.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, so you were in there for 10 years?
13.
13 years.
Yep.
So I guess what are some of the things that you learned in there that transitions to this business that you guys have so well, specifically like the door-to-door kind of business?
Yeah. So serving 13 years. I mean, I went to Iraq, Afghanistan,
Oh, dang.
Korea for a year, Germany for 3 years. Like I traveled a bunch and met a lot of people. So that's what translates from the sales side. It's just meeting, talking to so many people and having a great understanding of people.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the leadership development, because very quickly I got promoted in the Army. I got promoted to staff sergeant in 4 years. The fastest you can do it is 48 months, and that was the track I was on in the military.
Yeah.
So just becoming a leader fast, becoming a leader early. I was 22 years old, bought my first house, was in charge of like 30 people. You know, I was very young. I had guys coming in the Army that were younger than me. Way or older than me. I'm sorry. I had guys coming when they were coming in. They're older than me, and they're like, "How's this 22-year-old dude?" And I said, "I got 4 years of experience, homie, and I'm better than you at everything that you do. That's why I'm in charge." And and then I lead from the front. You know what I mean? So that was a big part of how it started. And then I'll say I had a big transition when I was in Germany. I got put into a trainer position, so I was training in marksmanship. And I was creating doctrine for the Army. So I was creating the black and white of what to read, what to look at, the step-by-step for a marksmanship class, which is one of the most dangerous things that you can do is go out in the range and show someone how to shoot.
Yeah.
Right? And I created that class. So, like...
Did you, real quick, just more on that, because that's kind of, it sounds like that's really where you started learning, like, standard operating procedures and stuff. Did you want that, or were you kind of like, did they just give that to you?
So
like,
I
hey,
actually
good.
created it, to be honest. That's probably where my entrepreneurship stuff started.
Okay.
That was right before COVID. There was a class that we all took. It was, I forget the name of the class, but like it was mainly for infantry guys and Calf Scouts. And I was an artillery guy.
Okay.
So I was like one of 2 artillery guys in the class. We had a high attrition rate. It was like 60 people showed up, like 20 of us graduated.
Oh, okay.
I was one of those guys. So I was beating out the infantry guys, the Calf Scout guys at a shooting thing. And I realized there was a gap in training here because I'm like, this is a very high level expert class.
Okay.
The Army doesn't have classes outside of like Ranger School and Special Forces where the attrition rate's high. Normally it's like 90% graduate.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, there needs to be a class before this class.
Oh, yeah.
And so I created that class.
Oh, okay.
I'm just like, hey, we need to do this. And I was the executive assistant for the Command Sergeant Major for 7th Army Training Command, which is in charge of the whole Europe. I was his assistant.
Your assistant, okay.
And so I'm like, hey, I see this gap. And he sent me down to the trainer course to create it.
Wow.
And so I made all the doctrine, the slides. We had the first couple classes. Like it was a real Army class. I don't know where that class is today. It's probably a thing though.
Yeah.
But I made it.
But you saw the problem. And that's like what you just said. That's where your entrepreneurship.
That's where my SOP stuff started. My doctrine started. My like creating slideshows and presentations. That's where I really like took it to the next level. Because I could already do all that stuff because the Army's biggest model is train the trainer. So I was already doing a lot of that. But then I took it to the next level then. And then shortly after that, I ended up, getting close to getting out of the Army when I got back to the States. And then my second like love for operations came from my last business partner. He was straight up the COO, your favorite COO, right?
Oh, okay.
And like, dude, he took it to the next level again. Like I already had the background. I see, because every time he would say something, I could learn it really fast because I have like an ops bone in me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. But then I was always the sales guy and the CEO and the visionary. Well, as I'm learning from him, I'm like, dude, I'm really good at this too.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, and so it translated really well. Everything he taught me, I kept it all in my back pocket. Nice. So between like the Army discipline, the creating the course, and then having that, I called him the mentor I never paid for, my last business partner.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah,
like that between those guys is how I really got into the ops game, and then like. Now it's time to find another level, right?
Yeah. Well, you paid for that mentor with your hours, with your time.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been a big proponent of. I've said it on this podcast 1,000 times. It's like, man, if you don't have the money to go pay to be in a mastermind, if you don't have the money to be, paying mentors, just show up and find a way to make your time valuable in some way, shape, or form for them. And just be there, be present, and soak it up. Put yourself in locations where there's guys there that are more established than you, more, I don't want to say valuable, but have like way more understanding of what you want to get to.
Yep.
And then just try to be like a sponge, just soak up anything that comes off of them.
Especially the guys that are trying to get into ops or need ops, like go by all means find those dudes because they're the hardest guys to find.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can go find you a sales guy tomorrow. Like, you can go run your own thing.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to be in charge of the flow of this thing, though? And those are the hardest people to find.
Well, the hardest as well are the ones that if you can find an ops guy that understands the sales side.
Yep.
That's
why I'm very dangerous.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's what's so hard.
I can speak English and Spanish.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Because then it's like, hey, if the sales guys need something, they can communicate with the ops, and the ops is understand. We literally picked up a guy from a different company, and shout out to Justin. He literally, as soon as we got him, he's now in charge of all of our operations, director of operations. As soon as we got him, everything just got better, especially on the sales side of things. He's understanding what we're going through, and then he's also relaying to us in a way that we understand. I make a sales guy sound like freaking idiots, but we're now understanding a little bit more of, okay, cool. Ops needs, let's say, for example, they need consistency. We were like, oh, well, we just put on 40 accounts last week, and so we're all going to take a break for the next 3 weeks. It's like, that doesn't work. And then we're like, why not? Like, you're going to be busy for the next 3 weeks anyways. And they help explain it, right? And so when you can have, if you're a guy who is literally looking into supply chain, looking into operations at some point, if you think that sales wouldn't benefit you at all, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah. You at least need enough to be dangerous, right? You don't have to be an expert,
not an expert. You don't need to,
but you need to know enough to be dangerous so you can at least translate the message.
Absolutely.
Like I credit wholesale real estate for all my sales and marketing. Like I learned a ton of marketing because we were running $1,000 a day on TikTok, Google, Facebook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I understand the KPIs, how it works, how it runs, and I'm a sales guy, so I understand sales. Then I learn ops, and I know enough to be dangerous to at least communicate with everyone across the organization.
Exactly. That's
whereas
huge.
we're not these two silos where this person never talks to this person.
Yeah.
And they're two different languages too, ops and sales.
And the crazy thing is that, a guy who maybe doesn't put as much time into that's running a business, you'll get there. It'll just take years of experience. So, Jay, maybe at the beginning, you didn't have all this background knowledge, but after years of experience and failing and then realizing what failed and then figuring it out and then you'll learn.
Yep.
But if you can learn from other people faster,
speed it up.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what's so powerful about our partnership, right?
Exactly.
Because if I would have joined another roofing company or tried to start roofing on my own, dude, first of all, I never want to do that. Right? I'm like, oh my God, I see the pain, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to just link up with someone that just knows the game, right?
Yep.
And then vice versa is from Jay's experience, marketing and roofing has just been full of shit for him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
he goes, who hurt you?
Because in wholesale, it's all marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
And who are you on the phone with? Oh, a guy from marketing. I'm like, hang up. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, not everyone's bullshit, dude. He's like, it does work. I'm like, dog.
Yeah.
I was like, I ran my whole business off of this sort of lead channel. You know what I mean? I'm like, this stuff works for sure.
Yeah,
it's just figuring out for this industry now.
And which is, it could be so tough, right? So that's the funny thing is I went to school and I got a lot of flack because I graduated in entrepreneurial management. And a lot of, when I was going into it,
that seems cool.
A couple people were like, well, being an entrepreneur is just going out there and doing it. You can't learn anything about being an entrepreneur without just having experience.
Right.
And I talked to a couple people that were actual entrepreneurs. I feel like those people I talked to were professors and stuff like that. And it was actually a counselor that said that to me, believe it or not. I went into a counselor, and the funny thing is I actually loved global supply chain. I was going to graduate in the global supply chain management degree at BYU, and I was like, I think this is something good. I took a couple prereq classes, and I liked it. I actually hit up, so I was doing summer sales at the time. I hit up Cody Babel, who was the VP of sales at Vivint, and I was like, I need an internship to get into the business Marriott school for global supply chain management. But I'm trying to do these blitzes and stuff. Yeah. I asked him, can you get me, and I hope it's okay I'm saying this, but can you get me an internship that's the fewest hours possible?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll see what I can do. So he reaches out to the supply chain team. He comes back. How's 4 hours a week sound? I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, you show up 4 days or 2 days and 2 hours or something like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. So I ended up going in, and then I actually hit him up. I'm like, hey, I'm staying here a little bit longer because I'm actually kind of liking this. He's like, is it cool if we make it 8 hours? He's like, yeah, 8 hours works. I'm like, okay, cool. So I actually bumped it up a little bit because I was like, I'm not getting anything done within 1 hour of showing up or even 2 hours, right? But I went in there for a whole semester. I was working like with the purchasing team and stuff like that. At the time, you know, when you're a kid, you think, oh, this is dumb. Like, you know, I'm not really like learning too much, but it was fun and it was interesting. But I was like, I'm probably not going to use this. What happened was that I saw the director of supply chain. I always saw his office, and I was like, and you hear this story a bunch, right? But I was like, how much does he make? And so I like looked it up, and I was like, this summer sales thing is paying me more than this guy's making. I'm like, okay, cool. So I shifted my focus. Yeah. I realized I had I don't want to say passion, but I loved the supply chain side. It was really cool to see how things worked and to see the teamwork on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Right. We know sales teams. The teamwork that they do is really freaking interesting on a completely different level. So it was really cool to see that. But when I went to my counselor, I was like, hey, I don't think I want to do global supply chain anymore. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. You know, my dad is an entrepreneur. And that's what he told me, kind of going back. He's like, you can't get, like, you're not going to learn anything really. And this is a counselor for the school that is supposed to be kind of supporting this degree. I said, screw him. I went into the program, and oh my gosh, like the things that you can learn about business without having to go through the pains of starting a business, it's pretty crazy. It's crazy. And so what I decided, I was like,
what were some of those things? Like, what were some of the biggest takeaways you took from college?
So,
like, because I personally, right, like, I mean, I went to college too. I got an interdisciplinary studies degree, which is a degree where you just combine all your bullshit credits and make a bachelor's degree.
You've been here long enough.
Yeah, I was sitting there for like 6 years. Like,
we don't even want you out of here anymore.
We need to get you out of here.
How can we put this together? But no, well, because like I agreed to some point that in order for you to learn about entrepreneurship, you have to sit in the seat, right? Mm-hmm. But you said I actually learned some things in college before I even had to start a business.
Yeah.
Which is the first time I've ever heard that. So
it's
what
weird.
What did you learn? What were some of the? Give me the top two things.
Yeah, the funny thing one of the first things I learned is confidence.
Okay.
So the crazy thing is that if you put the time into learning business, you'll gain more and more confidence to the point where you feel like, hey, I can start something.
Okay.
So a lot of guys, I feel like they're like, oh, I have this idea and I want to start it, but they just lack the confidence to start it.
Right.
So the funny thing is in college, they have you start. It's kind of like a BS company, but like you start a company.
Okay.
And you could take it off if you want to.
Oh, really?
And so that's like one of the classes is literally just like they take you through the whole process of starting.
You want to be an entrepreneur? Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pretty much say go.
Like a business plan.
Kind of business plan. And honestly, like the cool thing about, I mean, BYU's got one of the top entrepreneurial degrees in the entire nation.
Yeah.
They say the same thing. It's like business plan is not everything. Like we spend like a day on that or something like that. It's not right.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly. Exactly. So what I learned was I'm like, okay, cool. As long as I'm like putting in the effort and I'm learning and I'm trying, like confidence was everything. And so I thought like you had to have a business plan. You had to have all this stuff into place. I'm like, really, if you just have a lot of confidence and you're putting in the work, that's like one of the first steps.
That's
so
half
that was like something I learned from college without like actually learning it from a professor, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Something I actually learned was the importance of like understand literally what we're talking about. What that degree taught me was I took a class in social media marketing, actually, specifically. Mm-hmm. So I know how to run Facebook ads. I know how to do all those kinds of ads. Obviously, that's so important. Mm-hmm. Now, could I run a super successful campaign right now? It definitely wouldn't be worth my time, but can I talk to somebody and make sure that if I hire someone, I'm not hiring an idiot, or I'm hiring someone that actually knows what they're doing, right?
Right.
So that was super important. I took a couple different classes on one of the craziest ones that blew my brain was a pricing class. I can't remember the name of the exact class, but literally the majority of it was how to price your stuff. Mm-hmm. And literally like how to maximize profit and how to adjust it. It kicked my butt because math is not my strong suit, but I knew that like that would be something important.
Oh, 100%.
And so between the confidence that I learned from learning these skills and then some of the different things we did, I actually started 2 different companies in college.
Really?
One of them, unfortunately, COVID just absolutely killed it because it was like a marketing company where we would do like dance parties and events in people's places of business. Oh. So that just killed it. Obviously.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was just
Bring me your
that was oh, business. Yeah, it was literally just an excuse to have parties. Like we threw businesses. Like there was a restaurant that we did it in, and that business really never made money, but it was a hell of a time. That was the
Way too
funnest
fun.
thing
It
was
ever.
fun. Yeah.
But the other one, it was a LinkedIn thing where you know how like if you accept a connection on LinkedIn, you're gonna like almost immediately get spammed with like the thing. That was the company. It was like back in 2019 that we did that. So it was like one of the first companies, and we partnered with a dude that had software. It was me and my uncle and his partner. And I kind of was on the sales side of things, right? And I was cold calling, and I was doing things on LinkedIn. And the cool thing about that is that I was able to apply my salesmanship to the partnership. And in turn, I was providing a value of sales, but then I was learning operations from these guys. I was learning how they do like the business stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, if I can kind of turn this into a lesson for guys, it's listen, if you're in sales, but you want to start your own company, go spend some time with the dudes that run the company before you think you can just go start your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask them questions, figure out how the heck the operations work. Just because you can sell, we've said this a couple times, doesn't mean that you can go start your own company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I was in school way too long. I would like go out for the summer, do summer sales, and then realize if I extended into the fall, I could make, buco bucks with it. So I took 2 falls off because I'm just like making
good money, dude. Yeah. I'm an entrepreneur. I need to make money.
I love what you said, about the confidence, right? And then having you start a business before you left, because I think it's really important that people just take action.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
You can't learn enough information. Like I always tell people, I'm like, I could tell you how to ride the bike. I could describe how the bike feels. I could tell you what it's going to feel like when you fall off the bike. But ultimately, you're going to have your own experience on the fucking bike, right?
Exactly.
So like, you know what I mean? You have to get on the bike.
Yeah.
Like take action. Like the older I get, the more I look at that Nike sign and I'm like, oh my God, like that's just true wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're either going to win or learn, bro. You know what I mean? You either have the skill set and you're going to win, but you're going to, I say business ownership's like jumping off a fucking cliff, with a parachute, and you ain't never parachuted before. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you could have read all the parachute books, like, but
build it
I
on
don't
the way
think
down,
anything,
man.
build it. Yeah, exactly. Build it on the way down, build it on the way up. No, I agree there.
My favorite Nike quote right now is "Winning isn't for everyone."
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like
Did
it.
you see that?
Yeah, I saw a commercial. It was like it was like a LeBron one, and then it cuts like he's like doing all the stuff and working out, doing all the things, and then people are like criticizing him, and then at the end it just cuts to like a black screen with red words that says "Winning isn't for everyone."
I
was like,
I feel like Nike's getting their edge
yikes!
back.
No, they're getting their edge back.
back.
I was like,
For a minute there, they were kind of just like putting out fluff stuff. Now it's like, we got the fire.
yeah,
back,
winning
bro.
isn't for everyone was dope. I was like, dang, that is not inclusive.
No.
I was like, let's go Nike. I was like, that's fucking dope.
You're a customer now, huh?
I'll buy that shirt.
Well, on that thread, I'm really curious. So, what do you think separates you guys from like all the other, we can say roofing, but sales companies that just fall out? They just, I mean, obviously we talk about operations and stuff, right? But like, why are these companies just going out of business? Because it's happening in the solar industry.
Whew, man. I think it's culture. Our culture, our core values, who we're looking for, the type of people that we have inside of our company. We breathe it, right? Like when you walk in, like you can tell we're on our self-development journey in some form or fashion, right? Like, I mean, I could pull out my motivation chat right now. I mean, I would tell you probably 8 or 9 guys go to the gym super early in the morning, and then the other half of them are in the gym at night. Like we're big on working out, diet plans. Like, how are you leveling up? We're not like sharing, the next hit rap song. We're sharing the next like dope podcast,
right?
A book that we're listening to, right? Like, I tell guys all the time, like you'll hear guys pulling up to our office listening to a book, right? I tell guys, turn your car into a classroom, right? Like, I want guys to level up. Like it's not a if, it's a when. You're gonna get the money in roofing, right? Like we're teaching guys like how to get a CPA, how to write your like I'm not teaching. Listen, this is not financial advice. I get guys that come in CPAs, real estate agents, teaching guys not only how to structure their taxes, how to buy a house, how to get your credit repaired, like things like we're developing people,
Yeah.
you know? And I think when you start, like, people don't care how much you know or what your dreams are until they know how much you care about them, right? And so, like, we truly, like, give a shit about our people.
Right.
And you know, sometimes, like, you know, we always, me and him talk about all the time, like, love ain't lies, right? So sometimes it's a hard conversations, right? You know, hey, dude, I told you, you said you want to get down to 10% body fat, but you came in here with Chicken Express, bro. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Pulling Andy Elliott on him. You
know,
gotta have a 6-pack, dude.
And we don't go that.
No.
We're not like 6-pack or you're fired.
No, that guy's,
although
too
there
much,
is a lot of, that's very magnified, I guess, but there is some truth to that, right? It's like how you look, how you appear to people, how you carry yourself, your confidence, all of that stuff. If you're going to be in anything, but more importantly, sales, that's the number one thing that's going to increase your sales.
Yep.
Like, people think that I'm smarter than I am just because of the way I look and I carry myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm a 9th grade dropout. Like, you know, so like, you know, so that's what I think, that's the big difference maker is the culture.
Honestly, culture in that way, not the flashy swag,
No.
the flashy car videos and stuff. Like, yeah, there's a time and place for that, right? You want to show people what they can achieve.
Yeah.
But what we've talked about today, to kind of summarize it, is perfect. You need to have an amazing culture, and you need to have the operations in place.
Absolutely.
All the companies out there
And the
with
sales will come.
fake ass culture.
Yep.
The fake culture that is like, hey, dude, we're going to spend a $10,000 budget on getting you a whole bunch of swag, but we're not going to invest $10,000 in our fucking operations team.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff that we're seeing so much, especially in the solar industry, that they're just flaking out.
Yeah.
And so if you have the right kind of culture where you're committing, you're investing $10,000 into the people, like you said, bringing people in, teaching these kids, educating them.
Yep.
Now, sometimes they're adults that we're bringing in to work for us, right? I'm sure you got some older guys that have come in and knocking doors that have never experienced this before.
Yeah.
And we're able to help them level up their entire lives.
Yep.
Right.
Dude, 100%. I think another piece is just the leadership inside the company, and not just from us, but some of the guys that work there. I know me. I'll speak for me specifically. Like, my drive home is only like 8 minutes, right? Something like that.
Nice.
But during my 8 minutes, I try to call one person on the team that I thought did a good job today, and just call them and let them know that.
Yeah.
All right, like I try to get one of these guys on the phone that I thought did a really good job, and just let them know, like, because you don't want to be the only delivering bad news to people.
Well, here's the thing. Think about this, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys listen to Chris Williamson's podcast at all, or some of these other guys. They focus on like men, right, and the state of men today in our society.
Yep.
If you call that guy, you call that rep, because I do the same thing, and you say, "Hey, man, you did a great job today." What's the chances that that's the first time he's gotten a positive compliment,
Bro,
in months, years, their whole damn life?
don't nobody give a fuck about you. Like, you a grown man.
That's what they
You know
get
what I
told
mean?
all the
Like,
time,
yeah.
right? Suck it up. So what leaders don't understand right now, and I'm honestly on social media, I've been calling out leaders. I've been calling out managers a little bit. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna put yourself in a management position, you're gonna hire someone on. You've got to do right by them, and it's not just enough to like teach them a couple tips and tricks and drop them off on the road. Like, care for them.
Yeah.
Because these kids, I mean, we're literally molding their future more than their parents ever did for most of these kids. I recruited this guy, no dad, of course, mom, just long story. And I didn't realize it at the time. I overlooked my influence on him until one day he told me, he was like, I don't think you understand, Dan, how much I appreciate like this opportunity. Yep. Like, I don't think, and I'm like, oh, no, it's okay. He's like, no, I really need you to understand, like, I'm working my hardest here. I'm like, I know you're working hard. He's like, he almost kind of got mad at me.
He's like, bro, hear me out.
He's like, and I finally listened. He's like, and he told me a lot of the info that I didn't know. And he's like, dude, this has like been a game changer. Like, this has literally changed my life.
Yeah.
And that was the first time a couple years ago that I was like, dude, we're literally helping these boys become men. We're helping these men step into their manlyhood. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's a role that should not be taken lightly.
Right.
And I've seen what you guys do, like on social media. You guys have an amazing organization. You have lots of guys in there, and you're pouring into them.
Yep.
And that's why I knew you were good guys. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, is because it's so easy to see all the fluff and all the crap out there, and just not know, are these guys actually like helping people or not? But I like your guys' message because it's easy to tell, like, hey, these guys care about their dudes.
Yep.
That was something I picked up from the Army, man. When I was a young platoon sergeant, and I would get these 18-year-old kids from all around the world.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, their parents are trusting me, a 22, 23-year-old person, to just like take care of them now.
Yeah.
And that's where all that stems from. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
these
true.
kids are from wherever in the planet, and now
Yeah.
they live in where I was doing this was in Texas, down at Fort Hood, or whatever it's called now, and they would just send me kids from all over the place. You're not picking them.
Yeah.
Just got some 18-year-old from, and maybe some of them are even from other countries.
Really.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
English ain't even there for, and I'm there now. I'm the one that, you know, so I just translate that now into the leadership that we have on our team, and I'm like, let's give them that same thing I gave that 18-year-old boy or girl. I'm gonna give it to the same 35-year-old dude or woman that works here now, because like this roofing thing is self-development, and it's not easy to do.
No.
And I treat all the reps like my customers, is what I tell them. I'm like, I treat y'all like customers. I'm like, how can I make this experience better for you?
Nice.
Right.
I like
and so
that.
that's
The
my
world
role.
needs more leaders and less managers, right? Because I think you can inspire and teach and coach people through leadership. You know, so we call it sales leadership, right? Like, no, we're not here to manage you, bro. Like, I don't want to manage anybody, right? Like, we're going to lead you. We're going to set the example. We're going to inspire you. We're going to coach you. And you're going to, you know, you're either going to run with it or run from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
and, you know, we give them the best chance we can. And if the guys run from it, hey, you know, they had the best experience for the 2 weeks that they were here that they'll ever experience, and they can use that as kind of like a basis to judge future things off of, right?
Exactly.
And the one liner that I always say is when I bring on a new guy or girl, I just say, hey, I will pour into you as much as you're willing to pour into yourself.
Facts. I
Always.
love that.
And that's just it. If I see that you're not putting the time into yourself enough, okay, cool. Like, you're not going to get as much from me.
Yep.
I'm going to give you as much as you put into yourself.
Absolutely.
And so the guys and gals that absolutely excel are the ones that are doing the work off the doors, and they take what we teach them, and then they go and they multiply their efforts, right? They read the books on their own, like you're talking about.
Yep.
So, man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world when you see somebody win. Like, I think we were just talking about that. We were like, man, what's the most fulfilling thing? And we're like, most fulfilling thing is it's not when you get it yourself, right? Yeah. It's when you see somebody else make it with what you taught them. That is the 10X for me. And that's what I'm so passionate about in roofing, right? It's like, I come from the absolute fucking bottom, and with no mentors. So like, I knew when I got to where I was going to be, I was going to show people not just roofing, but like how to become like a solid dude. Like somebody with trust, integrity, with your finances right. Like if you're going to hang around me, you're going to be a stand-up guy. Like, I don't associate myself with people that, you know, succumb to their core values and do shady shit. Like, I've been around that my whole life. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, you know, I've seen it, right? I've seen people break, right? And I'm like, so if you're around me and you're part of my organization and you're part of the mentorship and the coaching that I'm about, there's a certain standard that we hold, and, you know, and that's developing men that are going to be productive men in society. Whether they learn roofing or not, they're going to learn the core values that can, you know, last the test of time. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you know, people in DFW are listening to this and they want to reach out to you guys, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah. You can reach out to me on my Instagram, Roof Dr. J.
That's sick. I didn't realize that was the title. That is so sick.
Yeah.
Roof Dr. J.
And you can follow me at Naaman Taylor Investor on Instagram as well.
Awesome. And I follow these guys, so you can follow it from my page. But dude, you guys, thanks so much for coming on and sharing what you guys are doing to make a business work at a time when these kinds of businesses are very come and go.
Yeah.
So I love hearing like what is working and how you guys are making a difference.
Thank you.
Absolutely, bro. Thanks for putting us on here, man. Thanks for Let's Talk to Your platform. This is a great time, dude. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.